480 BC. 300 Spartans versus the Persian Empire. Written and directed by Untold Battlefield Only channel, where history bleeds truth. If this epic battle, do well to subscribe to our channel. Turn on the notification button, like and comment. 300 men stood in a narrow mountain pass, knowing they were about to die. Not hoping they might survive. Not planning a heroic escape. Knowing, with absolute certainty, that in 3 days, every single one of them would be dead. And they went anyway. Let me put that in perspective for you. The entire U.S. Marine Corps is about 180,000 active personnel. These 300 Spartans faced a Persian army that some ancient sources claim was over 1 million men. Modern historians say probably 100,000 to 300,000. Either way, the math is insane. This wasn't a battle. This was a suicide mission, and they volunteered for it. The year is 480 BC. The Persian Empire, the largest, most powerful military force the world has ever seen, is invading Greece. And they're not just invading, they're bringing everyone. King Xerxes has spent 4 years preparing for this. He's built a bridge of boats across the Hellespont, a mile-wide strait. When a storm destroyed it, he was so furious, he ordered his soldiers to whip the water. 300 lashes. He literally punished the ocean. That's the kind of man leading this invasion. His army takes 7 days just to cross into Europe. 7 days of continuous marching. Soldiers from 46 nations, Persians, Medes, Indians, Ethiopians, Scythians. If you lived anywhere from Egypt to Afghanistan, you were probably in this army. The Greeks are watching all this, and they're terrified. Greece isn't a country. It's dozens of independent city-states that spend most of their time fighting each other. Athens, Corinth, Thebes, Sparta. They can barely agree on what day it is, let alone how to face an empire. Most Greek cities are already considering surrender. Some are secretly negotiating with Xerxes. The Persian strategy is working. Show overwhelming force. Watch your enemies collapse before a single sword is drawn. But Sparta has a different idea. Here's where it gets interesting. Sparta doesn't send their full army. They have thousands of warriors available. But there's a religious festival happening, the Karnaia. By sacred law, the Spartan army cannot march to war during this festival. So King Leonidas makes a decision that will echo through 2,500 years of history. He takes his personal bodyguard, 300 men, but not just any 300. These are his hippies, the royal guard, the elite of the elite. And there's one more requirement. They can only come if they already have sons. Think about what that means. Leonidas is deliberately choosing men with families, men with legacies to leave behind, because he knows something these men know. None of them are coming home. They're not going to stop the Persians. That's impossible. They're going to delay them, buy time for the other Greek cities to evacuate, to prepare, to get their fleets ready. And they're going to make Xerxes bleed for every inch of Greek soil. Leonidas chooses his battlefield with surgical precision. Thermopylae, the hot gates, named for the thermal springs nearby. Look at this location. It's a narrow coastal pass between the mountains and the sea. At its narrowest point, the pass is maybe 50 feet wide. You see what this means? It doesn't matter if you have 1 million men, only about 10 can fight side by side in that space. Xerxes' numerical advantage becomes almost meaningless. And this is where Sparta's brutal training system becomes a weapon. The 300 aren't alone. About 7,000 other Greeks from various cities join them. They're going to hold the pass together. But everyone knows who the real warriors are. Everyone knows who came here planning to die. When Xerxes' army arrives, his scouts report back something strange. The Spartans aren't preparing defensive positions. They're not panicking. They're exercising, combing their long hair, acting like they're getting ready for a festival, not facing certain death. Xerxes thinks they're insane. He sends a messenger with an offer: lay down your weapons. Leonidas's response becomes one of the most famous phrases in military history. 2 words in ancient Greek, molon lave, molon lave. Come and take them. If you're enjoying this story of impossible odds and insane courage, hit subscribe. This is Untold Battlefield, the only channel where history bleeds truth. We cover the battles they don't teach in school, the tactics that changed civilizations, and the warriors who refused to quit even when they should have. Subscribe, and let me know in the comments what battle you want to see next. Xerxes gives the Greeks 4 days to reconsider. 4 days to look at his massive army stretching to the horizon. 4 days to realize how hopeless their situation is. 4 days to surrender and live. The Spartans use those 4 days to build a wall across the pass. On the 5th day, Xerxes attacks. He sends in the Medes first. These are good soldiers, experienced, brave, well-equipped. Thousands of them charge up the pass, confident this will be over in minutes. They crash into the Spartan phalanx like a wave hitting a cliff. And the Spartans don't move. The phalanx, overlapping shields, long spears projecting forward, is nearly unbreakable in confined spaces. Each Spartan has trained in this formation since age 7. They've drilled the movements so many times they can execute them in their sleep. The Medes have never seen anything like this. They're brave, they're skilled, but they've never fought soldiers who started combat training as children, who consider death in battle the highest possible honor, who literally do not know how to retreat. The Medes fall back, regroup, attack again. Same result. By late afternoon, thousands of Persian dead are piled in the pass. The Spartans, not one casualty. Not one. Xerxes watches from his throne, and he cannot believe what he's seeing.
The Spartans have a trick they use repeatedly. They pretend to retreat in panic. The Persians think they're breaking, abandon their formation, charge forward in a disorganized mass to finish them off. Then the Spartans wheel around and slaughter them. It works every single time. The Persians keep falling for it because they cannot conceive that soldiers would fake retreat. In their world, retreat means fear. They don't understand. They're facing warriors who don't feel fear the way normal men do. That night, Xerxes is furious, humiliated. His massive army stopped cold by 300 men and some allies. He has one more card to play: the Immortals. These are his personal bodyguards, 10,000 elite warriors, veterans of countless campaigns. They're called Immortals because whenever one dies, he's immediately replaced. The unit always numbers exactly 10,000. They've never been defeated. The next morning, the Immortals march up the pass. Their scale armor glitters in the sun. They move with the confidence of soldiers who've won every battle they've ever fought. They hit the Spartan line, and for the first time, the Spartans are facing soldiers who actually know what they're doing. This isn't a slaughter anymore. This is a real fight. The Immortals are good, very good, but the Spartans are in their element. Close quarters combat in a confined space. This is literally what they've trained for their entire lives. The battle rages for hours. The Immortals can't break through. Their spears are too short against Spartan 8-foot spears. The pass is too narrow to use their numbers. They're fighting the Spartans' battle on the Spartans' terms. The Immortals retreat. Xerxes is losing his mind. 2 days, 2 full days of attacks. He's thrown everything at this pass, and he can't get through. Then something happens, something that changes everything. A Greek traitor named Ephialtes, Ephialtes, comes to Xerxes' tent. He's local to the area, and he knows something the Persians don't. There's a mountain path a narrow trail that goes around the pass. If you know where it is, you can get behind the Spartans. Ephialtes wants money, lots of it. He'll guide the Persians through the mountains. Xerxes immediately sends the immortals with Ephialtes as a guide. 10,000 men march through the mountains that night. There are Greek guards on the path, 1,000 Phocians, F-O-H-shuns. But when they see the immortals coming, they retreat to high ground. The immortals ignore them. They're not here for a side fight. They keep marching. By dawn, they'll be behind the Greek position. The Spartans will be surrounded. The pass will fall. A Spartan scout spots the Persians coming down from the mountains. He races to Leonidas. They're behind us. Leonidas knows exactly what this means. He gathers the allied forces. He gives them a choice. Leave. Get out while you can. Warn the other Greek cities. This pass is lost. You've done your duty. Go. Most of the Greeks accept. They retreat south. About 4,000 men leave. 700 stay. 300 Spartans, 400 Thebans, about 700 Thespians who refuse to abandon the Spartans. But everyone knows the truth. The Spartans are the ones who chose this. The Spartans are the ones who came here planning to die. This is their moment. Leonidas moves his men forward outside the wall, into the wider part of the pass. They're not defending anymore. They're attacking. If they're going to die, they're going to take as many Persians with them as possible. They're going to make Xerxes pay. They're going to show the world what Spartans do when they know death is coming. The final battle begins at dawn. The Spartans fight like men possessed. Every moment they hold this pass is another moment for Greek cities to prepare, another moment for the fleet to get ready, another moment for Greece to survive. Their spears shatter. They draw swords. Their swords break. They fight with broken shields. They fight with their hands. Leonidas falls. The Spartan king is dead, and the remaining Spartans go absolutely berserk. They form a circle around his body. No Persian will touch their king. They'll die protecting his corpse, and they do for hours. They fight over Leonidas's body. The Persians attack from front and back now. The circle gets smaller. The Spartans retreat to a small hill, their last position. There are maybe a few dozen left, out of weapons, fighting with rocks and broken shields, still killing Persians, still refusing to surrender. Xerxes has seen enough. He orders his archers forward, thousands of them. They fire wave after wave of arrows into the remaining Spartans. Earlier in the battle, a Spartan named Leonidas, D-N-A-Cs, had been told the Persian arrows would be so numerous they'd block out the sun. He'd joked, "Good, then we'll fight in the shade." Now they're doing exactly that, fighting in the shadow of
10,000 arrows, until there's no one left to fight. When the killing stops, the pass is carpeted with bodies. The Persians have won, but at what cost? Ancient sources claim 20,000 Persian dead. Modern historians think that's probably inflated, maybe 10,000 to 15,000. But even the conservative estimate is staggering. To kill 300 Spartans and their allies, Xerxes lost at least 1/10 of his army, maybe more. Xerxes finds Leonidas's body. In a rage, he orders the king's head cut off and mounted on a pole. It's a massive insult. Kings aren't supposed to be mutilated. But Leonidas humiliated him, made him look weak. Xerxes wants revenge, even on a corpse. The Persian army marches south. The path to Athens is open. But something's changed. The Greeks have had 3 days. 3 days to evacuate Athens. 3 days to gather their navy. 3 days that 300 men bought with their lives. The Persians reach Athens and burn it to the ground. But the city is empty. The Athenians have retreated to their ships. Then comes the Battle of Salamis, Ephialtes. The Greek fleet lures the Persians into a narrow strait, just like Thermopylae, tight space where numbers don't matter. The Greeks destroy the Persian fleet. Xerxes watches his ships burn from a throne on the shore. He's lost his navy. He's deep in enemy territory. His supply lines are threatened. The invasion is collapsing. Xerxes retreats to Persia, leaving part of his army behind. 1 year later, the Greeks destroy that army at Plataea. The Persian invasion is over. The largest empire on earth, defeated by a collection of Greek city-states. And it started with 300 men in a pass. So what made the Spartans so deadly? It starts at birth. Every Spartan baby is inspected by elders. Weak or deformed, left on a mountain to die. Harsh? Absolutely. But this is Sparta. Survival of the fittest isn't a theory. It's policy. At age 7, boys are taken from their mothers. They enter the Agoge, the brutal training program that creates warriors. They're given one cloak. Not enough food. They're expected to steal to survive. Getting caught stealing? That's punished. Not for stealing, for getting caught. They're learning to be cunning. Learning that rules are for the weak. They fight every day. Multiple times. By age 12, they're sparring with grown men. By 20, they're the most dangerous infantry on earth. The Spartan phalanx is nearly unbeatable in the right conditions. Overlapping shields. Long spears. Each man protects his brother. That's why come back with your shield or on it matters so much. Dropping your shield means you ran. You valued your life over your brother's. That's the ultimate shame. Death in battle? That's glory. That's immortality. That's what every Spartan dreams of. Let's talk about Leonidas. He wasn't supposed to be king. He was a second son. His older brother ruled first, but his brother died without an heir. So Leonidas took the throne at age 40. By the time he marched to Thermopylae, he was about 60 years old. Ancient by warrior standards. He'd been training for 53 years, and he chose to die in that pass. Sparta's oracle had prophesied either Sparta falls or a Spartan king must die. Leonidas chose his own death over his city's destruction. The 300 who went with him were all volunteers, all men with sons, all men who understood they were trading their lives for Greece's survival. Xerxes rebuilt the bridge of boats that the storm destroyed. He whipped the ocean. He believed he was a god king, semi-divine, unstoppable. 300 Spartans taught him he was just a man. The betrayal by Ephialtes became legendary in the worst way. His name became synonymous with treachery in Greek culture. He fled after the battle. 10 years later, someone killed him. The Spartans awarded the killer honors. Even in death, they punished betrayal. After the battle, the Greeks erected a stone lion at Thermopylae. The inscription read, "Go tell the Spartans, stranger passing by, that here, obedient to their laws, we lie." They kept their promise. They died where they were ordered to die. They held the pass as long as humanly possible. They bought Greece the time it needed. The pass doesn't look the same anymore. Centuries of silt deposits have pushed the coastline north. The narrow pass is now a wide plain. But in 480 BC, it was the perfect choke point, and 300 men made it there too. Thermopylae did more than buy time. It proved something crucial, that Persians could bleed, that the mighty empire could be beaten, that free men fighting for their homes were stronger than conscripts fighting for an empire. The battle became a symbol. For 2,500 years, soldiers have studied Thermopylae, been inspired by it. Special forces units around the world still reference the Spartans. The idea of a small elite force holding against impossible odds, that's Thermopylae. That's the legacy. Military historians still study it. The use of terrain, the morale impact, how to make numbers meaningless by choosing the right battlefield. Napoleon studied it. Patton studied it. Modern war colleges teach it. The double envelopment at Thermopylae influenced tactics from ancient Rome to World War II. But we can't forget the cost. 700 men died in that pass. Men with families, children, lives ahead of them. They chose duty over everything. What if Leonidas had retreated? What if he'd saved his 300 men? Greece might have fractured. Cities might have surrendered to Xerxes one by one. Western civilization, as we know it, might not exist. That's not hyperbole. If Persia conquered Greece, there's no Alexander the Great spreading Greek culture. No Roman Republic learning from Greek democracy. No Renaissance rediscovering Greek philosophy. 300 men holding a pass for 3 days changed the trajectory of human civilization. The movie 300 made Thermopylae famous again for modern audiences. It took some creative liberties. The Spartans wore more armor than the film shows. The Persians weren't monsters. But the core story? That's real. That actually happened. modern Spartans, the people living in the region today, still hold commemorations at Thermopylae every year. The stone lion still stands. The inscription still reads. The memory lives on. Military officers from dozens of countries visit the site, stand in the pass. Try to imagine what those 3 days were like. Mole and leg, come and take them, is still used today. On military patches, unit insignias, gun rights rallies, it's Leonidas' defiance echoing through 2,500 years. Some phrases never die. But here's what we need to remember. The Spartans didn't win at Thermopylae. They died. All of them. This isn't a story about victory. It's a story about sacrifice, about buying time with blood, about choosing death over dishonor. And it worked. Greece united. The Persians were defeated. Democracy survived. Philosophy survived. Western civilization survived. Because 300 men stood in a pass and said, not one step back. Thermopylae asks a question every generation has to answer. What are you willing to die for? What matters more than your life? The Spartans had an answer. They proved it at the hot gates. They wrote it in Persian blood on the rocks of Thermopylae. And 2,500 years later, we're still talking about it, still inspired by it, still asking ourselves if we'd have that kind of courage. 300 Spartans, 3 days, 1 pass, and the course of Western civilization changed forever. That's Thermopylae. That's the power of a last stand. That's what happens when warriors refuse to quit even when they know they're going to die. The Persians called their elite guard the immortals. But history doesn't remember the 10,000 immortals. It remembers the 300 Spartans who killed them. True immortality comes from deep